Now this service, Lambda, this is from the compute category in the AWS. Just like we have discussed EC2. EC2 is again from the compute service. It does computation, right? In the same way, Lambda is again falls in the category of compute category. It does computation, right? But then difference is what? That when you create an EC2 instance, so you specify everything right from the scratch, right? Hardware, operating system, applications, security, firewalls, network, everything, right? Once it is there, you're going to install the applications, you're going to have the server configuration, and in future also you are going to perform all the administrative tasks related to security or application or redundancy, availability, durability, all such things, scaling. You're going to perform on memory. This is the difference. Lambda is not that way. Meaning, whatever server administration is there, that is all going to be performed by the provider. It does computation, right? And your job, you are going to be a kind of developer. You as a developer, your job is to supply the application code to this Lambda. Lambda is going to do the computation, right? In one of the languages, what your application code needs, right? But rest of the thing is all going to be managed by provider. That is, whether you talk about the infrastructure, the hardware, the operating system, the applications, or the networking part, VPC, auto scaling, right? Or redundancy, application, everything is going to be managed by provider, right? You simply provide the application code for computation and it gives you the result back. Rest everything is all will be transparent to you. Hence we call it as serverless computing. Lambda, it is part of serverless computing. So serverless doesn't mean that servers are not there. Servers are there. In fact, fleet of servers are there. It's a group. There may be hundreds of servers behind this Lambda service which are working, which are doing processing. But the thing is that server management, you are not. That's the only difference, right? Moreover, EC2, once you create, it's running and you're going to pay for it, whether you use it or you don't use it, right? But once it's there in the running state for each and every component what are being utilized in this EC2, the software and hardware, costing is going to be there. But this is not the case for Lambda. In Lambda, you are going to pay only for the compute time, right? Only for computation time. If suppose we are consuming only 1 minute, so you're going to pay only for 1 minute. Yes, that's the difference. All right. So let's see the features one by point. Lambda offers serverless computing that lets you run code. You means there you are a kind of developer and you are going to execute the code without provisioning or managing servers. Meaning server management is not your responsibility. Serverless computing allows applications and services to be built and run without thinking about servers. So you as a developer, when you're going to develop the application, right, and the network services, so you're not considering that what about the servers and what is going to be the strength of the server or hardware, etc. Nothing. You're not considering. You simply develop your application, right? With serverless computing, applications still run on servers. Meaning, serverless doesn't mean that servers are not there. Servers are there. But server management is all performed by AWS, right? Lambda is priced on a pay-per-use basis, pay-per-use, right? And here in EC2, you're going to pay for the entire instance. You pay only for the compute time you consume, and there are no charges when the code is not running, right? Lambda executes your code only when needed and scales automatically, meaning scaling is performed automatically. You are not going to configure it, right? And it can scale, depends on the customer traffic, of course. You request per day to thousands per second. That's the range, right? Meaning automatically this lambda service can accommodate the traffic, right? When it fluctuates. Traffic come ho raha hai, zyada ho raha hai, automatically it is going to fluctuate, right? It is going to scale. Fluctuate means it is going to scale up or scale down automatically. You don't need to configure it separately. Lambda can run code for virtually any type of application or backend service, all with zero administration, right? Point is, administration is zero. You as a user, you're not going to do any kind of administration. Lambda runs application code on a high availability compute infrastructure. Practically speaking, अगर देखा जाए तो lambda के पीछे क्या है? Highly available compute infrastructure, and it performs all of the administration of the compute resources on its own. Right? We have got hundreds of we even don't know how many resources can be there. All you need to do is simply supply the code in one of the languages that Lambda supports. Right? Lambda is supporting the languages like Python or Java or PHP, whatsoever. Then it supports that. So whatever languages you need, whatever the sources you need, Lambda is going to provide. You cannot log into compute instances. Compute instances हैं. Serverless computing हम बोल रहे हैं. Compute instances हैं at the backend, but you cannot log in. Meaning, shell access is not there with you. Whatever management you are going to do, that is all from the dashboard, right? So you cannot log in. You cannot customize the operating system on provided runtimes, right? This is not there with you. These constraints enable Lambda to perform operational and administrative activities on your behalf, right? Because you cannot do anything, so Lambda is going to do it, right? Example, provisioning of capacity, hardware capacity, monitoring of the fleet. Fleet means itself, it's a group of servers. Applying security patches, and deploying your code, monitoring and logging your Lambda functions. Lambda can be used to run code in response to certain events from other services. This is important. You're going to perform a lab on this statement, right? From other services. For example, in our lab, we'll be using S3. S3 is a service, storage service. Events in S3, like any activity you are doing in storage, you're creating a new object, you're deleting, you're modifying, right? Or you're doing scaling, any activity you perform. So you can configure this Lambda function to run the code. Whatever coding is there, application coding, that is going to be executed in response to the events. So whenever some services are executed, events are happening. In response to those events, you can trigger this Lambda function to execute the code what you have supplied. Right? चलिए इसी बात पर हम आगे का बात करेंगे. मतलब इसको मैं एक्सपेंड करता हूँ. Other services, जैसे मैं आपको एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ. Suppose S3 is, this is your S3 bucket. S3 bucket storage service, right? Event क्या हो सकता है? And you as a user, right? You upload some data. इसको हम बोलेंगे object creation. You are creating some object here, right? So what you can do? This is an event. In response to this event, you can trigger this Lambda function. We are going to create a Lambda function, right? This event is going to trigger this function. Function is there, ready, and only trigger is required. Trigger. As soon as this trigger is there, so this function, what it does, it is going to execute the code which is supplied. This is some application code. This is some code, right, which is given here in the Lambda function. And this code, depending on you as a developer, what you've done, right? This is going to perform the activity. For example, in our lab, the activity is what? This code is going to pick up all the details of this object now, right? Object ID, object name, date of creation, time, right? Storage class, size, everything. And all this information it is going to store in a database. This is already defined in this coding, right? You're going to pick up this information and store it into a database. And here we are going to use one database service for it. That is DynamoDB. DynamoDB, which is NoSQL service. And all this information is going to be stored into this database. Database has got a table, right? And table when you create, you know, कल जैसे मैंने बताया था that while creating the table, you just need to specify the name of the table and the primary key. The rest of the attributes are going to be created automatically. And then when you're going to make the entries, what we call them as the items now, right? So that is going to be created here. So here we are going to create a table in DynamoDB service with name and a primary key. And all this information is going to be stored. Whatever attributes are there, which of course you have defined in coding, right? That's going to be written, but those attributes are getting created here automatically, and database is going to be created. Of course, you know, in cloud, by default services, when they're going to interact, in this case, Lambda service is going to interact with this DynamoDB. It's going to write this information. This is a kind of interaction, and by default, permissions are not there. So you have to give permission to this Lambda function now by way of role. So we are going to create an IAM role, right? And associate this role with this Lambda function. And this role, in this role, we are going to define that Lambda should be able to access this DynamoDB. What kind of access? That you can define in the role using the policies, right? But permission is required, and permission is by way of role only. So we are going to create an IAM role which allows the Lambda to, in our case, we will be doing full access on this DynamoDB service, right? Yes. So once this setup is ready, so what will happen? A user, whenever any user is going to upload some object here in the bucket, automatically the information about this object will be written into this table. This is a natural. Okay, जब भी यहाँ कोई अपडेट करेगा, कुछ भी किसी भी तरह का ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट करेगा, automatically details of this object will be written into the database. And this concept जो मैं आपसे बात कर रहा हूँ, इस पर भी आप अपना अच्छा खासा लैब ये जो प्रोजेक्ट आप बोल रहे हैं वो आप यूज कर सकते हो, राइट? इसमें आपको कोडिंग भी करना पड़ेगा, क्या कराना चाहते हो. प्रैक्टिकल एग्जांपल बहुत हैं, रियल लाइफ एग्जांपल which are based on this concept. जैसे लैम्डा फंक्शन काम करना है, राइट? जैसे मोबाइल रिचार्ज,
Yes, sir.
बहुत अच्छा एग्जांपल है. एज योर डेट अप्रोचेस फॉर द रिचार्ज, 2-3 दिन पहले से ही आपको मैसेज आने शुरू हो जाते हैं, राइट? तो इनको भेज नहीं रहे, इट्स ऑल ऑटोमेटेड. You're getting the SMSs, you're getting the voice calls, you are getting the emails, and you have to recharge your mobile, right? So क्या हो रहा है? Already function is written, right? जैसे ही 2-3 दिन रह जाएंगे, those functions are triggered, and they're sending you the notification in form of mails or SMSs, right? आपने recharge किया, payment कर दिया, immediately you are notified. Trigger is there, nobody is sitting, right? कोई manually काम तो कर नहीं रहा है. So you are notified immediately, instantly. यहाँ पेमेंट हुआ और वहाँ पर ट्रिगर हुआ, and you are notified. There are a number of examples like this. आप तो हर जगह ही, आप किसी शॉपिंग मॉल में जाते हैं, कोई ऑनलाइन परचेजिंग करते हैं, the moment you do any kind of transaction, it is taken up as a trigger, right? And immediately you get the result in the form of notification, right? Yes. So that is what is there. आप ATM से पैसा विड्रॉ किया, डिपॉजिट किया, राइट? एकदम नोटिफिकेशन आ जाता है आपको खड़े खड़े. तो ये फंक्शन हर जगह चल रहे right? So like this is just one example, right? So अभी आप कुछ प्रोजेक्ट जो बना रहे हैं तो उसमें आप ऐसा सोच सकते हैं कि लैम्डा फॉर्म कहाँ यूज करें। मैं एक ये लैब आपको छोटा सा लैब है, मेरे पास एक कोड है, पाइथन का कोड है right, जो मैंने इंटरनेट से ही निकाला हुआ। तो ये कोड मैं यूज करूंगा और ये कोड जो है क्या कर रहा है, whenever some object is getting created, so this code is going to pick up all the details of this object. ये कोड है, ठीक है। तो इसमें अगर आप करोगे पाइथन आपको आता भी होगा, मुझे नहीं इतना मालूम है। सो ये देखिए लाइक रिकॉर्ड्स जो भी इस टेबल में एंटर होंगे, बकेट का नाम, ऑब्जेक्ट की, साइज ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट, इवेंट का नाम, इवेंट का टाइम, राइट। एंड दिस इज द DynamoDB टेबल, टेबल का नाम। जब भी हम टेबल क्रिएट करते हैं so you have to specify primary key, so this is the name of the key and all other attributes are going to be created. Primary key is must, ये हमें करना है, इतना काम जो है हमें करना पड़ेगा, टेबल का नाम और प्राइमरी की। rest all other attributes जैसे बकेट का नाम, ऑब्जेक्ट की, साइज, इवेंट का नाम, इवेंट का टाइम, ये एट्रीब्यूट्स हैं, ये ऑटोमेटिक क्रिएट हो जाएंगे, राइट। सो चलिए करके देखते हैं। मल्टीपल सर्विसेज आर इन्वॉल्व इनटू दिस। इसमें एक S3 सर्विस है, राइट। स्टोरेज सर्विस इसमें हम यूज कर रहे हैं एज ए ट्रिगर, राइट। वी हैव lambda, we have IAM, we have DynamoDB, right, and on the top of that we have to contribute something in coding also। जैसा कोड आप लिखेंगे वैसा वो ट्रिगर हो जाएगा। you can think of कैसा कोड लिखना है। तो चलिए let's start। I will log in to my system। So let's go for lambda। create a lambda function, author from scratch, ये लेना है ऑप्शन, और फंक्शन का नाम any name, here I say demo function। रन टाइम जो मुझे यूज करना, देखिए ये सब रन टाइम या applications हैं which are supported, Java, Node.js, Python, Ruby। so मैं यहाँ पे यूज कर रहा हूँ Python 3.7। आर्किटेक्चर 64 बिट का है। परमिशंस जो हैं, I'm going to use the role but I have to create the role, right। so role create करने के लिए I'll go to the IAM service, इसको मैं ओपन कर देता हूँ दूसरे टैब में, right, and create a role for AWS service lambda। we're going to create a role which includes the policy DynamoDB, राइट। ये सर्विसेज है, ये पॉलिसी है रिलेटेड टू DynamoDB। तो मैं यहाँ पे ले लेता हूँ DynamoDB full access। so we are allowing this lambda function full permissions over DynamoDB। name of the role, तो मैं रोल का नाम दे देता हूँ, दिस इज lambda role, that's all। okay, so this role is created and this role we are going to associate now with this function, lambda function, right। refresh, now this role is appearing over here। yes, तो मैं एक फंक्शन क्रिएट कर रहा हूँ lambda फंक्शन, जिसमें रन टाइम मैंने मेंशन किया है पाइथन, और परमिशन ऐड कर दी lambda role। that's all, that's everything। default create function। अब ये जब फंक्शन तैयार हो गया तब इसमें दो पैरामीटर्स हैं जो हमें सेटअप करने हैं। एक है ट्रिगर, राइट। हमें लैम्डा को बताना है ट्रिगर कौन होगा, कौन सी सर्विस होगी जो ट्रिगर करेगी इस लैम्डा फंक्शन को। और दूसरा है आपका कोड, एप्लीकेशन कोड, राइट। एप्लीकेशन कोड जो है हम ले रहे हैं लैम्डा, राइट। तो इसे डिलीट कर देता हूँ, नब्बे फॉन्ट है। और यहाँ पर कोड है मेरे पास, I do the copy pasting, right, and deploy this code. Here I add this deploy. This is successfully deployed, right? So this is one thing, code हमने बता दिया। और हमें ट्रिगर ऐड करना है। ट्रिगर जो हम ऐड करेंगे वो है स्टोरेज S3, राइट। अभी मैं मुंबई में काम कर रहा हूँ, सो जो बकेट है हमारा वो मुंबई का ही होना चाहिए। So I go to S3। S3 में ऑलरेडी कुछ बकेट्स हैं, अगर नहीं है तो आपको बनाना पड़ेगा। और ये बकेट में ले लेता हूँ, डेमो बकेट है, क्योंकि ये मुंबई रीजन में है, राइट। दिस आई एम गोइंग टू यूज फॉर ट्रिगर पर्पसेस। ऐड ट्रिगर, select the source, source is S3, in S3 demo bucket which is in Mumbai region। इवेंट का टाइप क्या होगा जो ट्रिगर करेगा, ये सब ऑप्शन हैं, पुट, पोस्ट, कॉपी, राइट, मल्टी पार्ट अपलोड, डिलीट इवेंट, परमानेंटली डिलीटेड। सो हम यहाँ पे ले रहे हैं ऑल ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएटेड इवेंट्स, राइट। ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएटेड रिलेटेड कोई भी अगर इवेंट है, दैट इज गोइंग टू एक्ट एज ए ट्रिगर, राइट। ऑल ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएटेड इवेंट्स। और ऑब्जेक्ट का जो टाइप होगा वो कुछ भी हो सकता है, प्रीफिक्स सफिक्स में कुछ नहीं बता रहा हूँ, इमेजेस या सफिक्स जेपीजी, ऐसा कुछ स्पेसिफिक नहीं, इट कैन बी एनी काइंड ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट, acknowledge the changes and the trigger. Yes, this is it. And now your function is ready, right? Function is ready. This is the runtime. Fine. अब क्या करना है, राइट। S3 बकेट तो ऑलरेडी है हमारे पास, राइट। लैम्डा फंक्शन क्रिएट कर दिया, ट्रिगर बता दिया, कैप्टन कोडिंग कर दी, आई एम रोल भी हो गया। बस लास्ट पार्ट रह गया है, you have to create in DynamoDB service this table, right, with the name, this name which is there in the coding, along with a primary key जिसका नाम है obj key, ओके। तो हम जाएंगे अब DynamoDB service, create a table, टेबल का नाम S3 object, it has to be same exactly। पार्टीशन की यानी प्राइमरी की जो है वो है हमारा obj key, all our small case obj key। चलिए, ये स्ट्रिंग हमने रखा है, string, rest all other attributes will be created automatically, right। बस इतना मिनिमम रिक्वायरमेंट है टेबल क्रिएट करने के लिए। और सेट डिफॉल्ट, इसमें रीड कैपेसिटी 5 है, राइट कैपेसिटी यूनिट 5 है, क्रिएट। फाइन, सो दिस टेबल इज एक्टिव नाउ, टेबल क्रिएट हो चुकी है। see the details of this table, ये सब डिटेल्स हैं। टेबल आइटम्स 0, अभी कोई एंट्री नहीं है, राइट। टेबल में अभी कोई आइटम नहीं है। चलिए, सो एवरीथिंग इज देयर रेडी, नाउ वी हैव टू जस्ट वेरीफाई, ठीक है। तो हम इस बकेट में ऑब्जेक्ट अपलोड करेंगे, राइट। आई विल सी ट्रिगर होना चाहिए, कोड एग्जीक्यूट होना चाहिए और इंफॉर्मेशन राइट होना चाहिए टेबल के अंदर, राइट। सो आई गो टू S3 in this bucket. Let's upload a new object, add file S1 txt को मैं लेता हूँ, upload. This is an event, right? And this is uploaded successfully, and so trigger भी होना चाहिए. I'm going to verify directly into the table. This one. I refresh. Not there. It corrupts. Right. This is it now. तो आप यहाँ पे देख सकते हैं ये ऑब्जेक्ट की है, डायनेमिकली क्रिएट हो गया है. This is the key which is missed. Now this is the bucket name. This is the event name. This is the event timestamp जो भी है, and the object and the size of object 2820. Right, 2.8 KB. Okay, let's have one more time. Upload one more object. Bucket policy. इसको अपन अपलोड करते हैं. Upload it. Verify. Refresh. This is the object. Bucket policy. Yes. Size is 815. Right? It is picking up. 815. Right. Yes. बताइए. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. ठीक है. अभी छोटे छोटे टॉपिक्स रह गए हैं आपके 2-3, तो मेरे ख्याल 2 दिन में सब खत्म हो गया. कल है फ्राइडे, चलिए कल अपन करते हैं. Then we'll decide for Saturday. All right, चलिए.